Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today at Publicis Commerce on the I Could Buy That series. We want to keep this concise, so let me remind you about the rules of the game before we get into it. First, we invite a credible guest to share a thought that we'll expand on and look to change the way we look at the world of commerce. This month's guest is Kristina Kaganer, VP Product Development at Publicis Commerce. Second, we ask them to open with their thesis in one short sentence to set the stage. Chances are this will be something fresh that requires a bit of explaining to better understand. And finally, we dive deeper, looking at three key data points to back this thesis with some great stories to help tie it all up and hopefully leave you thinking differently and hopefully change the way you look at our industry. So, Kristina, good to see you today.
Thanks, Marcy.
Okay, let's get right into it. You and I have been colleagues for nearly 2 years, but what brought you to Publicis Commerce? What was your path before we met?
Yeah, so I've had a really interesting and diverse path. I started at about 10 years, different agencies, working specifically in digital analytics capacities, launched all things hair for Unilever in the US, and then actually moved on to the client side, where I was originally launching the in-house paid media and programmatic practice for Coty, and then moved into a digital transformation role. There, what we actually identified is that we had huge opportunities in not just how do we think about our e-commerce net revenue, but also our e-commerce scalability, and that technology was going to be the way to solve that. So I actually ended up leading a product team, developing a set of technology specifically focusing on the best way to grow e-commerce for Coty.
Awesome. In short, every time I have a question about how things work, I email you. So what makes you so passionate about product? Like why did you go about it that way? I understand the analytics background, but why are you making things?
I think it's a fabulous opportunity to have everyone speak the same language. So I always like to say that with data, there were all these years where people sat in ivory towers and we talked about how complex data was and how difficult it was to understand. But I think the power is actually democratizing the data and making things more accessible for others. And for me, that's the beauty of product. It's not about having the best possible solution. It's about having the solution that has the best possible application. And I'm super passionate about giving our clients and our brands and our teams things that they can use in their day-to-day life, and about making solutions that really go about targeting their specific problem statements.
Okay. So you mentioned product statements and you mentioned democratizing access to data. I know that in the warm up for this conversation, you had a pretty hot take. So what's this idea that you want our listeners to buy into?
Yeah, so e-commerce should cut the crap. I know I'm being a little bit vulgar here, but we often talk about can't realize any profit crap out, and we always talk about it in the context of Amazon. I think what we often don't talk about is what does it mean for our brands and our businesses, and how do we think about profitability as an organization, as a brand organization? How do we take those same principles of only doing things that scale and scale well and apply them to our business the same way that Amazon does to theirs?
Got it. Okay. So e-commerce should cut the crap. What are three data points or three arguments I feel back that up?
Yeah, I mean, I think one is a lot of times we focus on the brand journey, but there's a shopper journey. And we talk about digital shelf and being present where the consumer is. The reality is that more and more people are not just researching online, purchasing offline, but they're researching online, purchasing online, researching offline, purchasing online. There's all these disparate journeys, and it's about understanding not just about how do you position your brand, but how do you position your products for the consumers that are ready to purchase, and you're just already in their consideration set.
Mhm.
The next thing is that we focus a lot on top line revenue, but we don't necessarily talk about profitability. So not every opportunity is the same value, and not every single journey is going to have the same opportunity for activation. So making sure that we're highlighting that and calling that forward is incredibly important. And then the same way that Amazon sets a bottom line number, I think all the brands should set a bottom line number that works for them. I mean, it's super controversial, but what's the point of growing a business if you can't scale it, right? And I think there's tough decisions to be made. You don't always have to focus about being in the green. But if you are doing that, you should be doing it deliberately and with intention and with a set outcome in mind.
Do you feel, from your experience, having been agency side, client side, and now Publicis Commerce side, a percentage of clients and brands that you've dealt with, how many of them do you think have an internal crap number of their own?
Oh, it's difficult. less than you would think. And I'm not going to give a specific number, but what I will tell you is think about how many different people inside of an organization touch revenue, and now add how many more people need to touch profit, right? So you not only have how much money you've made, how much you've sold, reconciling that between your internal numbers and what the retailers are telling you. You also have the cost of manufacturing. You have how much you spent on advertising. You have all of these different touch points, including how many people you had to pay to staff to actually make that product and market that product.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of clients and a lot of companies are too big to move too quickly. And the nature is that these companies, these retailers are moving really, really quickly. You know, with Prime Day, we saw, what was it, 100 or 42% day on day sales increase. And that's all literally over the course of one night. So, as brands, I think we need to leverage technology as much as possible to take advantage of that because Amazon waits for no man or Amazon waits for no product.
Got it. Okay. So I want to summarize this for our listeners. Overall, what you're saying is that e-commerce should cut the crap based on the fact that one, the shopper journey has become more important than the brand journey, but resources and budgets haven't really followed or adapted. We need to look at that. Second, there's too much of a focus just traditionally on top line revenue, not enough on profitability. There needs to be a shift there. And lastly, Amazon has thought about a crap out number that they use internally. We should invite all companies to think about their own crap out number internally as well to make this a sustainable endeavor. Well, okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say? I mean, you've definitely caught my attention with cutting the crap. Any last thing you'd like to say to our audience?
No, I mean, I think the one piece of advice or the one piece of food for thought that I'll leave everyone with is every action has a certain value, right? And I think just for any good marketer, any good brand, any good agency, it's just really, really important to know the value of the actions that you're taking. And the best way of doing that is through technology, through standardization, and through, I use the term democratization of the data, but about giving as many people access and visibility to the numbers that they need to do their jobs effectively. And
Awesome.
technology and product are a great way of doing that.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, KK. Thanks everyone for listening. We hope this got you thinking. We'd love to hear your feedback. Drop us an email. Once again, thank you, Kristina. Um, thank you for joining us. And join us again next time for another great guest who will hopefully leave you thinking, I could buy that.